Every woman needs a man who is financially responsible, a man who is good with money, good with budgeting, good with investing, a man who is capable of planning for his and her and his family's, children, if applicable, their future. And unfortunately, many women do not have such a man, and they are stuck with a man who just doesn't care, doesn't know about it. She ends up having to go into her masculine energy to be the one that's managing the money, dealing with the finances, the budgeting, all of that stuff, to make sure that there's no big screw ups. Or a woman who doesn't do that because she just doesn't know, and then kind of puts blind trust in a man and ends up getting very screwed over, right? She just finds out one day, oh, we're bankrupt, or, the man loses his job and it's like, oh, we have no savings to take care of us. Really big problem for a woman, because a woman is supposed to be able to rest in her feminine energy, which means she's letting go of control. She has trust in her man to lead and to provide and protect, right? Including protect financially, right? Making smart decisions. And not have to take on those kind of responsibilities, and not have to be stuck in fear that something bad is going to happen, right? So that's when she's just able to let go, open up, flow, be soft, and because she knows she's being taken care of. So today we're going to be talking about the masculine mindset around money and what kind of issues women get into trouble with when they don't pick the right man, or they pick a man that they don't know how to inspire to become the kind of man that they need. So, hello, my name is Zach Rohde. I'm here to lead you into creating the relationship of your dreams by learning how to inspire a man into cherishing you using your feminine energy and what I call feminine communication. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, make sure you do that below. Hit the notification bell and be sure to like this video, because I'm going to make sure it is a good one for you. All right, so I'm going to use myself, as I commonly like to do, to illustrate some of this, get your mind really thinking, get your creative juices flowing to really understand this, to visualize this. So, in my relationship, in my marriage, I really have a mindset focused on making sure that my wife and daughter is taken care of. That is something that takes up a lot of my mental energy space. And so financially, we're fine. Actually, we're fantastic. I make really good money, and I believe I've done quite a good job of investing in it to make sure that no matter what happens to me, my wife and daughter are going to be taken care of. This is a really important thing to understand. Okay, so this is a mindset. This is an actual mindset. I actually think somewhat obsessively, maybe too obsessively. If something were to happen to me tomorrow, I get shot, or I get brain damage, or some horrible disease or something, I can't work anymore, money is not coming in, what's going to happen to my wife and daughter? What will happen to them? Will they be okay? And this is a potential future event, and it's hopefully one that's never going to happen, or at least not for a very long time. I mean, sure, I'll die in 40, 50 years, whatever. And hopefully by then my daughter has a husband who's taking care of her and everything, and my wife will be joining me soon afterwards in death. But what if something happened now? A lot of men don't really put much effort into thinking about that and also into preparing for that. But it's really important to understand, even though it's just a hypothetical. And this is just to illustrate the overall kind of thinking around a money mindset in a man that a woman needs to really understand. Because if you don't have a man who's thinking at least somewhere along these lines, you're putting yourself in a lot of potential harm, danger, right? Because if you have a man, or your future man, and let's just say hypothetically, he's the sole provider. He might not be. Maybe you're making your own money and you're fine as well. But a lot of women are going to want a relationship where they're fully provided for, or at least don't have to think about all of this crap. And even women who are working, right? Like, say that the man's managing the money, or you're managing the money, but let's say there's not really much that's left over for savings. What happens if your man dies? right? Or what happens if you get sick and he has to be the one that's fully taking over the finances to fully provide? And you got all these, car payments, mortgage payments, and all this stuff. Really big problem. Most men, and I'm going to say most people, and it might actually be worse with women, at least what I know with women, but there's going to be different types of men and women. They don't have a mindset, like an investment mindset, a really good investment mindset with delayed gratification and preparing for the future and preparing with contingency plans as well, right? Like, what if this happens and I wasn't prepared for it? Because stuff like that does happen. I'm going to give you an example. I could actually talk about this subject all day long. In 2008, obviously it affected people differently in different areas of the world, but focusing on the US, because it was one of the hardest hit, if not the hardest hit, with the housing crash, right? Millions of people lost their homes and their mortgages because they lost their jobs. They weren't able to pay for their mortgage anymore, and they had to give everything up. And a lot of people ended up living in cars, and families were completely displaced and screwed over for years, and it set people back years, or in some cases decades. Not to mention the market crash as well, right? Like, people have money invested in the market in some way, preparing for retirement, and this happens. Well, who had a contingency plan to expect that as a possibility, right? And put some of your money elsewhere, or even just a plan where it's like, I'm not going to take on a really big mortgage because I can't, maybe I'll lose my job and I don't want to be paying into this paycheck to paycheck. A man needs to be considering all of that in his leadership, in his decision of like, what kind of house can we afford to rent or to buy? What kind of car? What kind of extra money are we able to spend? So many people live paycheck to paycheck, and it's because I'm just going to focus on men for a moment, because it really is the man's job. Get it? It is the man's job to do this. And if you're the one that has to do this in a relationship, or you've done this in the past, I mean, that sucks, because it's not your responsibility to take on at all. It's the man's job. And if he's not doing that, then there's going to be really big problems. And they're going to continue happening until, okay, so I'm going to say, hey, this is the man's responsibility, in the sense that this is his job. He's the one that's supposed to be doing this. But understand that all of this is a co-creation as well. There's always going to be a responsibility on the woman, and just a different type of responsibility than the responsibility that the man has. So a woman's responsibility in this is, number one, don't be taking on this responsibility with the finances of planning and budgeting and preparing for different eventualities and stuff, because it's not your job. And if you take on that job, your man is almost certainly never going to man up and be the man that he needs to be for you, right? Prior to, unless you get really lucky like my wife did. For example, prior to me learning about polarity and my instinct coming online, my masculine instinct, I had her pay the bills. We were both contributing to it kind of 50-50, which is also a problem, but another story entirely. But she was the one that was doing kind of the budgeting stuff and making sure that everything was paid, because it's just she's better at planning and being up to date and paying things on time, so I'm going to let her do it. It's very bad leadership on my part. It's supposed to be my job. It's supposed to be the man's job. But her part in that, her part in the co-creation, is that she enabled it by following my leadership. So she enabled my bad leadership, my laziness, by going along with it, even though it didn't really feel good for her. Why does it not feel good for her? Because it's not supposed to really feel good for a woman to be in that place of responsibility. Especially, it's bad enough to be responsible for yourself. It's even, it masculinizes you as a woman. It's even worse if you're responsible for the family as a woman, right? For the entire budget. Her role, her job, would have been to use feminine communication to share what was coming up for her when my leadership is bad, when I'm leading her to do that. She didn't know feminine communication because I hadn't taught it to her, because I didn't know anything about it, because my masculine instinct wasn't online. And it wasn't until it came online that I started leading her into using feminine communication to communicate her needs and her feelings and problems and everything that's coming up for her. Learn how to be permissive, learn how to be vulnerable, share all of her feelings vulnerably. And one of the big feelings, just by the way, it's going to be anxiety around this, right? You have a man who's not prepared for the future, who's living paycheck to paycheck, who's spending more than he should on a mortgage, who hasn't prepared contingency plans in case he dies or in case he loses a job or in case something happens to him where he's not able to provide in some kind of way. Well, if you're paying attention to your body and if you're like not totally clueless about the situation, you're going to be feeling some level of anxiety. It's not going to feel good for you. You're not able to just relax and let go because you know, your feminine instinct knows, and just you as a human being knows, oh crap, like if something bad happens, which it definitely could, we're in a lot of trouble, and then my needs won't be met and I won't be taken care of. And then, you know, what about the kids, if there's kids involved, and are we going to be living in a car, and oh, maybe I should get a job or I should get a second job. And it's all because the man didn't take charge and because you didn't share what's coming up for you. Now, of course, you might say, you know, I did bring this up with my man or my past man, my past relationship that didn't work out, my past marriage. You probably did, right? Women tend to share things, you know. The question, though, is, did you do it in a truly feminine way that would inspire a man? This is really important because, yes, women tend to share stuff. They tend to share what their feelings are, or at least what they think are feelings. But what they are actually doing is you're communicating in a way that doesn't inspire a man up into his masculine behavior. It doesn't activate his instinct into taking care of you, right? When a woman lets go of control and she softens, she becomes vulnerable, she stops trying to control anything, she isn't disrespectful, she isn't like questioning, kind of like interrogating a man. When she's able to make all these shifts and she starts embodying her feminine energy more, it activates a man's instinct, and his masculine instinct is wired to provide and protect you and those that he cares about. That's what it does. Provide, protect. That is the direction, that's the parameter, that's what he is being told to do. If it's not online because it's buried, I mean, it's going to be buried to some degree no matter what. If a man's instinct is fully online, he's going to be wanting to do that regardless of how you show up to one extent or another. He might not want to do it with you necessarily if you're showing up in a more masculine way or in a way with really low feminine self-worth, but it is going to be online. He's going to want to be able to provide and protect for those that he cares about. If it's more buried, well, you know, you still have the ability in most cases to bring it out in him using feminine communication. As an analogy, a man sees someone in the water, like a little child, a little girl, and she's drowning. Maybe there's a shark coming as well. He sees the fin. What's he gonna do? Well, what's his instinct gonna do? Unless he's like a total wuss bag, he's gonna be like, "Oh man, I gotta save that little girl." Right? That instinct kicks in, and of course, a woman would probably want to save the little girl too, but it's different for a man because men really want to be the hero. They really want to be the protector. That is part of their role. It's part of their instinctual programming. So of course he's going to want to go and swim and save her unless he's a total coward. And while it's different in the sense that, you know, you're not experiencing a shark attack, it's your feelings that shared vulnerably and respectfully, fully openly, while you're being soft and you're letting go of control and you're not trying to get any outcome with them. That is what activates that masculine instinct in the same way. And no, he doesn't have to go swim to save you from a shark, but instead it might be like, ooh, I got to step up and start budgeting better. I got to fix my spending addiction and stop buying so many, whatever it is, cigarettes or, you know, another car that he doesn't need, or a boat, or that big mortgage that wasn't really necessary, or whatever. I need to start putting money away. I need to start figuring out how to invest, because yeah, what if something happened to me? I need to get really serious about this because I don't want you to feel all of these bad feelings. I want to make sure that you're feeling happy and relaxed and open and feeling relief and joy. Right? That's what you're doing by learning how to let go and being vulnerable, which is your feminine essence. That's how you are programmed. If only you know how to reconnect back to that and share in this beautiful feminine way, which you can do through feminine communication. because that's what you need. That's the kind of man that you need, who's fully activated, and it's like, baby, I got this. I'm going to take care of the investments. I'm going to take care of the budgeting. I'm going to take care of the contingency plans. I'm going to take care of making sure that we're making enough money. We're bringing extra money in. You can relax. Whether you're continuing to work or not, I mean, that's going to be a personal decision, whatever. But it's like, you don't have to worry about it. It's a much better way to live. The first step in this is for you to really get in touch with that need for financial safety. If you're not in touch with that need, then no communication's really going to work. If you think everything's fine, it's like, living paycheck to paycheck, we're always going to be okay. No matter, nothing bad's going to happen. Well, you're just as stuck as the man is, right? Because something will happen. There will always be bad things that will happen. You don't necessarily know what they will be. You won't necessarily have planned perfectly for them, but there's always going to be something that happens. And of course, you want to, hope for the best, plan for the worst. You don't want to be like a paranoid nutcase or have your man a paranoid nutcase about all the bad things that can happen, but you want to just be smart about it and like realistic that, yeah, bad things are going to happen. So you're in touch with that need and in touch with that anxiety, right? Because there should be some level of anxiety. And this doesn't make you crazy. Your anxiety is a beautiful thing. It is guiding you and essentially guiding the man without you trying to guide him towards being better in some kind of way, right? Like my wife's anxiety is a good thing, because if she communicates in the beautiful way that I teach her, because it lets me think like, yeah, I didn't think about that. That is a concern. Or even if it's not a concern for me, okay, well, it's a concern for you. And how can I address that by being a better man, right? Like, for example, if I wasn't afraid that I'm going to die, nothing bad's going to happen to me, but she's really deathly afraid that something could, and then my daughter and her are totally screwed, well, it could inspire me into what I'm already doing, which is, okay, I'm going to make sure there's enough investments, there's enough ways that I'm safeguarding my money so that if something did happen, she's going to be okay. And it would be her anxiety that would do that, essentially. And anxiety and your other negative feelings are not the bad, boogie monster that many women think they are. It's not a burden. It's a beautiful gift both for yourself and for the man. It's like, yes, some of this is coming from trauma, of course, but a lot of it is also just coming from your feminine instinct. It's like you have that instinct for a reason, because it's what keeps you alive. If we didn't have feelings of fear or anger or sadness or anything like that, we'd just be blobs until we die, basically. Get eaten by a tiger because, hi, little tiger, come here. And then you get eaten, right? Your feelings are beautiful. You just need to learn how to express them. And this is what I help women do. I help women learn how to express their feelings, your needs, your problems, your desires, everything to a man in a way where he wants to listen to you. He wants to take care of you. He wants to know more about your feelings. He's inspired to further open you up, and he's inspired to start shifting his behavior to better take care of you. This is what I help you do in all my offers. And all my offers, by the way, they're below my video in the description. You just open up that description tab and you'll see all my links to my different offers, my masterclass, my books, my dating course. I got my free group in there as well, if you haven't joined my free group. And I got my academy. My academy is my big flagship offer where I help you and my team helps you learn how to make these shifts, practices them with you, gives you the guidance that you need to actually implement this stuff. Not just focus on these problems, but actually show you the communication and show you how to communicate differently, show you how to shift those patterns that you're stuck in into communicating in a way that actually does inspire man into taking care of you. Where this whole honeymoon period, which I got to do a video on soon, it never dies. It just gets stronger and better over time because you're continuing to activate your man's instinct to want to take care of you and want to be close to you, want to make sure that you're happy. And he feels like a man, he feels like your man, you get to feel like his woman, and it's beautiful. And if you're interested in that, like I said, again, it's below in the description, thedreamrelationship.com, or check out any of my other offers. I'm just here to help you. Pick something, get started, start learning this, start implementing, start transforming your life, create the relationship of your dreams.